You know, we've all seen it in the movies, right? The hero takes a dozen punches, gets knocked out, and then just shakes it off. Well, what if I told you that's all a dangerous lie? In this explainer, we're going to tear those myths apart using real history, neuroscience, and the actual law. And a huge shout out to The Other Way Martial Consulting for making this deep dive possible. Let's get into it.
And that's the whole problem right there. This fiction creates a massive, dangerous gap between what we think a fight is and what it actually is. You think you know how self-defense works because of Hollywood, but believing in those movie tropes, well, that can be a life-altering mistake.
So, our mission today is pretty simple. We're going to replace all that fiction with verifiable facts. We're going to build a new, realistic way to think about conflict, one that's based on hard evidence, not on some screenwriter's imagination. Let's start with history. Because, honestly, most of what we think we know about martial arts is kind of just legend. The real story, though, it's way more surprising, and everything connects in a way you would never, ever expect. Okay, so take a look at this. At first glance, these 4 points seem totally random, right? Ancient Greece, Sherlock Holmes, the suffragettes, and World War II. But believe it or not, they're all links in a single chain, a hidden history that ties them all together. So get this. The very first mixed martial art, Pankration, was so unbelievably brutal. I mean, the only rules were no biting and no eye gouging, that it created a public health crisis. The athletes were getting so mangled that the Greeks literally had to invent the entire field of sports medicine, not as a cool elective, but out of sheer necessity just to put people back together. And check this out. Martial arts can be a political weapon. When jiu-jitsu hit London, the suffragettes saw its potential immediately. They adapted into Suffrajitsu and formed a 30-woman bodyguard unit to protect their leaders from being beaten and arrested by the police. It's an incredible story of using intelligence and leverage to overcome brute force. Okay, so from history, we're going to pivot to biology. Because it doesn't matter what style you know or how tough you are, every single fight comes down to what happens inside your head. We're going to look at the automatic, involuntary things your brain does that completely take over your body. So, let me ask you a question. Are attacks just random? Is it really just about being in the wrong place at the wrong time? Well, decades of research say absolutely not. Predators aren't random at all. They actually conduct a kind of silent, nonverbal interview to find the person who will be the easiest target.
See, attackers are experts, absolute pros, at reading body language. They're scanning for what they call soft targets. That's someone who looks distracted. Maybe they're buried in their phone, not paying attention. They actively avoid hard targets, people who walk with confidence, with awareness. And this tells you something huge. A lot of the time, the best self-defense is just to project confidence and fail that silent interview.
You've seen this in action movies a million times, right? The big fight scene starts and everything goes into slow motion. Well, guess what? It's real. It's a real thing called Tachypsychia. Under extreme stress, your brain gets flooded with adrenaline and starts processing information so fast that the world around you actually seems to slow down. It's a built-in survival tool.
But, and this is a huge but, this biological superpower has a serious downside. While your big muscle movements, your gross motor skills like running or hitting get a massive boost, your fine motor skills completely fall apart. Just gone. Think about what that means. Trying to do something precise like unlocking your phone or flipping the tiny safety on a pepper spray can. Forget it. In the moment you need it most, your body can only do big, simple, clumsy things.
Now, this is the kind of crucial, science-based info that real experts focus on. And if you want to learn how to turn this knowledge into practical, real-world skills, you should definitely check out our sponsor, The Other Way Martial Consulting. You can find them at theotherway.biz. And hey, if you're getting value out of this, do us a favor. Hit that like button, subscribe, and share this with somebody you think needs to hear it.
But the physical confrontation? That's just the beginning. The stuff that happens after the fight is over, that's where some of the most dangerous myths are hiding. We're talking about the hard truths of medicine and law.
This right here, this might be the single most important myth we need to bust. In the movies, getting knocked out is like a reset button. In the real world, anytime you lose consciousness from a hit, it is, by medical definition, a traumatic brain injury, a TBI. It is a serious, serious medical emergency, not a nap.
So what's actually happening in a knockout? It's your brain, which is soft, like jello, violently slamming into the inside of your skull, which is hard bone,
Or it's your head twisting so fast that the tiny little nerve cells in your brain are literally stretched and torn apart. That is the trauma that shuts everything down, and it can easily, so easily, lead to permanent damage, a coma, or even death.
Okay, let's switch gears to the law. There's this common idea that you can never, ever use a weapon against someone who's unarmed. That is just plain false. And the reason is a legal concept called disparity of force. The law is smart enough to recognize that sometimes an attacker's natural advantages are so huge that they basically count as a weapon.
So what creates this disparity? Well, the courts look at everything, the totality of the circumstances. It's not just one thing. Are you facing more than one person? Is the attacker way bigger and stronger than you? Are you on the ground and they're standing over you? Any one of those things could legally justify you using a higher level of force to defend yourself.
And self-defense law can get super confusing, so let's quickly break this down. In some places, you have a duty to retreat, meaning you have to run away if you can do it safely. The Castle Doctrine says that duty goes away when you're in your own home or car. And then stand your ground laws take that one step further and say you have no duty to retreat anywhere you are legally allowed to be. Knowing which one applies where you live is absolutely critical.
And now we have to talk about the shoot-to-wound myth. Let's just kill this thing for good. From a legal perspective, firing a gun at someone is always considered deadly force. If you tell a prosecutor, I was just trying to shoot his leg, you've basically just admitted you didn't really fear for your life. And tactically, it's a joke. Remember Tachypsychia? You've lost your fine motor skills. Hitting a small, moving target like an arm or a leg is impossible. It's a legal trap and it's a tactical fantasy.
So, wow, we've covered a ton of ground, from ancient Olympic fighters to modern-day courtrooms. And the point of all this isn't to teach you some secret takedown move. It's about building a whole new mindset, one that's based on reality, not on Hollywood myths. And that's really the big takeaway here. Real, true self-defense isn't about a secret move. It's about knowledge. It's about understanding how predators think, how your own body is going to react under stress, and what the real-world consequences of violence actually are. That knowledge is what gives you the power to make smarter decisions when your life is on the line.
So we'll leave you with this to chew on. After everything we've talked about today, which one of these myths do you think is the absolute most dangerous for people to believe? Thanks so much for tuning in. On behalf of our sponsor, The Other Way Marshall Consulting, stay aware and stay safe out there.